Hi everyone, my name is Leah Kopke and I'm a 3D motion design freelancer. I also have a podcast where each week I cover another 3D modeling tool for Cinema 4D. Hello and welcome. Today we're going to go over the repeat brush, and this is really helpful for if you're creating zippers or stitches inside of Cinema 4D while 3D modeling. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we are inside of Cinema 4D. The first thing that I'll do is I'll drop in a cube into our scene. You can find this tool in a few places. It's in the mesh menu under the brushes. You can find it right over here, repeat. And I also like to switch over to the sculpting mode. And once we click on this right over here, sculpting, you'll see that our UI adjusted and you actually have your brushes over here to the left, including your repeat brush. Now, in order to have these become visible, we need an editable mesh to work with. So I still have my cube selected, or you can reselect it in the Objects tab here and use the C hotkey in order to make it editable. Now our brushes will appear on the left like the repeat brush over here. You can see it. Now that we've done that, I need to go ahead and make sure that we can see our lines, because that will be helpful as we're subdividing this. I'll hit the subdivide button here a few times, and I have the smoothness turned all the way up, so that's why it's becoming spherical at this moment. And we'll just make this mesh pretty dense for right now. I'm going to turn off the lines so that we can just see the shading here. I think that's looking good. Now you can see we subdivided and that gave us a sculpting tag, so we can see our levels, and right now we have 8 levels in here, creating the sphere. Now let's talk a little bit about the options for this tool. I'll open up the asset browser because we're going to be using this in just a moment. And let's go into our presets folder. Let's go into our sculpting brush presets folder, and down here you'll see a texture folder. Now this is what I like using. And here you'll see things like zippers and stitches. So all of these work great with this tool. So let's go ahead and click on our repeat brush. You'll see in here you have your usual basic settings that we've covered in the past that most of the brushes come with. If you want to learn about those, I'll leave a link to that. I've also gone over many of these settings in the settings tab, all of them in the past. So if you want to learn more about those, I'll leave a link to them. One thing that I would suggest using this tool is leaving on the steady stroke, because it just makes it look nicer and it smooths out your lines while you're adding things like zippers or stitches to your mesh. So I have my steady stroke turned on. I'm going to increase the strength, and let's take a look at our stamp settings. So this one's important. This one's very important for this tool, because whatever the repeating pattern is on here, it's going to grab it from the stamp settings. And I have a whole other episode on the stamp settings, so I won't go through every single one of these today because I've already done it, and you can check out that episode in the link below. But just to show you how this tool works, I'm going to drag and drop a zipper, perhaps this one, into here. And now once we've done that, we can draw on the surface. You can see we're creating a zipper. Now I have this at 100% strength, so it's pretty intense right now. And you'll notice that the zipper is extruding, which is good. That's what I want right now. Something important to consider is your gray value, because that will adjust how much of the zipper is going in and how much of it is coming out. So I think that the zipper looks better when the gray value is at 0. I may go ahead and just reduce the strength a little bit, since I think this looks a little bit more realistic. But you can also try things like the stitches in here. So let's take a look at the stitches over here. So we have these ones. I need to drag and drop these into the stamp. So I'll go ahead and do that. It'll download. There we go. It looks like it's there. And now we have these beautiful X stitches here. These look pretty nice. We also have this kind of seam over here. I think this seam actually looks like something that you'd see on a couch. That's what it reminds me of. And since we have such a high resolution mesh at this time, you can really see these details. And later on, we'll talk about how to bake your sculpt so that you can keep these details as a texture, as a normal map or a displacement map, instead of having to have your models always this high poly just to have these details show up. We also have buttons in here, or we have screws. You could also try using one of these. This is just one of those tools that's really fun to play around with and just see what it looks like. So now it looks like we have some screws in here. So get creative with this. I can play around with this all day. So let's focus on what else is new in here. The stencil settings are the same as what we've covered in the past. I'll leave a link to that episode if you want to learn all about it. The modifiers are fun. I'll turn on the modifiers so you can have one brush on top of another and use both of them at the same time. All you need to do is turn on that brush type. So we have the smooth brush. If you check it on and you use this here, it'll both smooth and use the repeat together, and you can adjust the strength of the secondary brush. So you can see that this is a little bit more smoothed out than this one up here. So that's where it might come in helpful, is if you're getting those jagged edges, you might want to smooth it out more. Or just increase the resolution of your mesh overall. You can also layer this with the draw brush. And just try these with different effects. So this is a fun tool to experiment with, and I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did find this helpful, please hit like and subscribe so that you'll be notified when the next episode comes out. And happy 3D modeling! I'll see you here next time on Ambient 3D Animations.